name is Stephen Teed. I'm from the Adams Lake Band Histalnik in the Shikwamikulu out in BC. And I'm also the owner of Green Future Industries. I do have another company, but Green Future Industries. I don't know. I gave you my PowerPoint presentation. Do I have to go to share screen and share it, or are you able to put that up? I don't know how that works, Jasmine.
I got it here, so.
Oh, perfect. All right, yeah, Green Future Industries. I started this company about 5-6 years ago now. I started getting into hemp at a young age. I actually got a hemp jacket when I was about 15 years old, and loved the jacket. And it came with a little history piece on about hemp and the jacket, and it always stuck with me, and I always got very intrigued by it, and I always started doing more research on, okay, well, how come we're not doing more stuff out of hemp, and the environmental impacts, the history, and then of course you get into the legalities, and I always found it very fascinating. And then I came into a part of my life where I was able to start farming and start getting into the industry. So I did that, and now I've been on this journey for a little over 5 years, growing myself and developing technology, and trying to educate other people about hemp and the opportunity, and watching the industry grow, and also watching the industry fail over the last 5 years to get where we are now, which I'll go through a little bit during the presentation. If you want to go to the next slide. All right, so first I'll do a little legal landscape of the current hemp industry. Historically, hemp has grown in different areas across North America and around the world. It's one of the oldest crops in the world on record, used in different cultures, different religions all around the world, used for clothing, rope, because of its strength and its growing abilities. Hemp cultivation was banned in Canada in 1938, and then it was reintroduced in 1998 with industrial hemp legalization. And then now, as the laws changed in 2018, where they legalized the harvesting of flowering heads and leaves for CBD. And they also changed the licenses where they were valid for now for up to 5 years, where previously you had to reapply every year, which made it difficult. Now, so if you're looking to get an industrial hemp license, it's an online application through Health Canada. It takes, it could take you about 2 hours, an hour. It's not too hard to fill out. There's no fee. So they're quite easy to get for industrial hemp, which is nice, but also a lot of bands and nations are doing laws and jurisdiction around the industrial hemp industry to take some control. And the United Nations Declaration of the Rights for Indigenous People, and different tools we can use and avenues for the right for economic development. And the hemp is also getting more legalities across the world. In the United States, they have the new Farm Bill that was passed in 2018, making industrial hemp legal to cultivate in the United States, which is very big. So there's a lot more progress happening, but there's still an uphill battle teaching about the industry and what hemp can truly be, because of all the similarities with cannabis, as everybody knows. So if you can jump to the next screen, please. So then, yeah, a little hemp 101. Hemp and marijuana are not the same. They're same variety of a plant, but they're two different, they go down two different paths. You cannot smoke hemp and get high. There's no THC in hemp, and the varieties look a lot different. Hemp plants are taller, stockier plants that can grow quite high, whereas if you've seen a cannabis plant, they're a lot bushier and have more arms on them. Hemp is one of the most versatile and longest cultivated crops on the planet, And anything that could be made from cotton, timber, or petroleum can be made from hemp because of the different compounds of each part. Um, the hemp plant breaks down into the seeds, the stalk, which is the hurd and fiber, the leaves, and the flower, and then also the roots. And it's used for food, clothing, building materials, paper products, biodegradable plastics, and medicinal CBD. And I'll get into a little bit of the different areas as we go through the presentation. If you can go to the next slide, please. So organic hemp seed, that's the biggest market in Canada currently, the one that kind of got the hemp industry going back in the early 2000s. It's the most nutritionally complete food source, high in fiber, omegas, vitamin E, magnesium, potassium. Very complete food source. You can see them in all the different superstores and Costco's, and any major retailer sells hemp hearts, hemp seeds, different hemp products, hemp oil. And it's a big industry. And also there's new opportunities coming for hemp seeds to be used also for animal feed, for cattle, to offset different diets and help with the overall health of different animal productions such as cattle or chickens. But unfortunately, the government of Canada still says that's illegal to feed it to animals because they don't know the long-term effects of feeding animals hemp, which is very unfortunate because the studies show that it's very good for their diet and has some very positive effects for the animals. So hopefully in the future we'll see that, but that's one of the biggest industries currently in the world is the organic hemp seed market, or hemp seed in general. And if you could go to the next slide, please. And then hemp fiber. So clothing, rope, press board, plastic and fiberglass replacements. This is one of the newer industries that's getting a lot of attention. Unfortunately, the biggest hurdle right now is the equipment to get the hemp fiber usable for some of these industries, and that's where my focus is currently. There's a process called decortication that needs to happen to the hemp stalks to get these usable pieces, and that machine is currently still being developed. And hopefully in the next 5 years, we'll see more machines on the market and being used so we can see some of these better products being made. The plastic and fiberglass are two very big interests from industries, and I've been talking with a lot of very well-established companies that want to utilize and start incorporating hemp into their products, which is great to see. Just unfortunately, the technology for us to supply them and the farming are not quite up to what industry needs right now. So it's definitely industry coming in the future. So for people interested in learning, it's a great time to get started because, this industry is only in its infancy, and in the next 5-10 years is when it's really going to start to take off. So you can go to the next slide, please. And then hemp hurd, that's the other piece in the stalk, the thick part, used in building materials, animal bedding, paper products. The building material is one of my big key interests as well. Living on reserve and the housing issues, one of our plans was to, grow hemp and use part of it to help build homes, which is still one of our plans and something we're aiming for. Unfortunately, we've had setbacks because of COVID, but I think everybody has. And also paper products, being in BC where forestry industry is, such a big impact on our territory and our animals and our water. Anything we can help offset on the impact on our forests, I think is definitely a benefit. And the hemp plant produces a lot of hurd and a lot of fiber, so it a lot of potential. And you can jump to the next slide. So these are some examples of hemp building material and hemp homes that are currently built. Hemp building is very popular in Europe. as well as other parts of the world. It's very slow in Canada and North America, mainly because we have so many trees. But even the insulation factor, different things like that, some of these products that are petroleum based, have huge environmental impacts. There's opportunity to be replaced with a natural product such as hemp, and some of these homes are just beautiful. That's just a simple mix of hemp hurd, lime, and water. So 3 ingredients, and you get a home that can last for a very long time. So there's a lot of good benefits. If you can jump to the next screen. So yes, there's fire safety. They've done fire rating tests on the hemp, and it does not catch fire. Quiet noise reduction, improved indoor air quality, reduced energy use, mold resistance, and stronger, more resilient. So they've done a lot of studies using hemp. Not a lot, but they've started to now with its popularity getting there. And they're finding hemp to be a great product overall to be utilizing. And I'm excited to see it get. The one issue right now with housing in Canada is the Canadian Building Code and getting hemp put as approved material. That's been the difficult part in its popularity in Canada, but there's a company, Just Biofiber, that is working very hard and has been on getting that approved by the Canadian Building Code, so they could be used in more homes across Canada. So that'll be exciting. But again, trying to get policy changed and working with government is a very slow process, as we know, as First Nations. So again, it'll take a lot of people trying to educate government on why they should start changing some of those policies. So you can go to the next slide, please. And yes, hemp can and will replace unsustainable materials. With the increased large-scale cultivation and wide range of everyday hemp-derived products that could be produced from hemp, we could replace many unsustainable products and materials, saving our environment. Hemp is also carbon negative. There's studies done where industrial hemp can absorb 22 tons of CO2 per hectare, and hemp can be used to replace significant quantities of tree-derived products, allowing reduced use of existing tree population, thus maintaining their CO2 uptakes. And that's actually a big push in the industry from farmers, is to get their crops where we get a carbon credit back for growing per acre. So right now we're doing the math on how many tons of CO2 that actually is, what kind of products it has to go into to qualify for the credit program. But very interesting to see. And so that's also why a lot of big companies are putting money and investing into hemp, is because of the carbon tax, things like that. They need to put money into how they can reduce the carbon for their products. And so they're starting to replace and utilize hemp because of the carbon opportunity. And also the other country that is heavily investing into hemp is actually the biggest in the world is China. They believe they're making a switch to trying to be more environmentally friendly. They've seen the impact on their country, and they've invested heavily into hemp. And they actually, when they're negotiating right now with the United States on trade, they've actually put a hemp clause with the United States that they want hemp fiber and hurd shipped out to China where they're doing processing, because they know and they see in the future that the consumer and everyday people like you and me, we want to purchase products that are environmentally friendly. So they're making a big push. So hopefully they get there, and maybe everything that's at the dollar store made in China one day will be 50% hemp. You never know. So next slide. And then here's some pictures from the farming. We did grain yield farming, so we grew for organic hemp seed for the last couple of years. There's some, the highest recorded yields around 2,000 pounds of seed per acre. An average yield can be between 6 and 800 pounds per acre for organic. Again, it's going to depend. So things to consider when starting to farm. What do you want to grow for? Whether that's for CBD, that's for fiber, that's for, seeds. There's a lot of different varieties out there, and a lot of different types of hemp or even plants in general that will do what you're trying to accomplish, and they grow all different. There's also different varieties out there for your climate and your geographical zone. So you should look into that, and then you can, start seeing what fits into your area. It's soil health. I've been growing 5 years now. And soil health is the most important thing. Your soil is a living organism. We have stories, we call it Tumuk, where about the life in your soil. And without healthy soil, you won't grow anything. No matter what you do, you just won't grow anything. So learn about your soil, go play in your soil, put your hands in your soil, talk with other local farmers. I do tests on my soil every year, but you got to put life back into your soil, and you can grow anything, anywhere, but you have to take that time to learn and work it. And then, of course, irrigation, water. Plants need water, depending where you live. Again, if it rains a lot, maybe you need drain tile. I live kind of in a semi-desert area, so we definitely need water where I am. And then weed control, invasive species of weed. Equipment you have available for young farmers. When I started, you don't get a lot of funding on reserve. So I borrowed equipment from friends. I leased equipment from other farmers in the area. Anything. I worked for other farmers to trade to use their equipment. Look at what you have available, what you need, tractors. I was fortunate where I had a combine available to me that I could borrow, that took the seeds out. So work with what you have, the size of your area and what's feasible to grow. If you have a small acreage, it would be ideal to focus on more niche products or certain areas of the industry. I have friends with small acreages that we do, CBD projects on, or genetics. So you grow a certain type of variety that everybody finds valuable, so that they can grow it in the larger acreages. Seed varieties and what you have available, and of course your harvest, and learning how to harvest and learning what you need in the process and how much time it's really going to take. Before I started farming on my own, I went and I volunteered on hemp farms and learned their harvest and sat with them to learn, so I could take that back to my community. And because it's a lot harder than people think, and it takes a lot of time to in just agricultural in general. Agriculture in general is difficult, and apparently so is speaking right now. But yeah, and anything you take and you learn from growing hemp, you can apply it to any other vegetable or product to grow. So it's always valuable information, and I've been doing that and learning as I go and increasing more food production. So yeah, it's been good. Next slide. So next steps we can do together is, look at what you have farmable land, what kind of farm equipment you have available, what kind of processing you're going to be doing, whether that's cleaning, drying, separating, see what kind of workers you have available in your area, and get some ideas and dream big and support each other. It's kind of how we make things, happen. Without support of other people, I wouldn't be where I am. And I, try to support and help as many up and comers and people that are interested as I can, and giving them advice and, trying to introduce them to other people that could help them in their area, whether they're local or they're across the country. There's not that many people you can rely on, and I try to be there for anybody that's interested, because I really believe in the industrial hemp industry and what it can do for the environment for the future. And next slide. Oh, I guess yeah, that's about it on the presentation. And yeah, we did another harvest this year that we just finished, and it went really well. And we're got some offers now for next season to see where it goes, and we're developing some equipment, some decortication and hemp specific equipment that we're going to be on the market to local bands or First Nations or businesses that can afford them, for small farmers to get into hemp production and processing. And even some of the equipment is transportable, so you can take it from farm to farm and do co-op style, which is something that I've been trying to promote, is a lot of people getting together to share cost equipment and take it from farm to farm. So then the costs aren't a huge burden for one farmer, because equipment is not cheap. It is very expensive. And that's something I've found out from farming, is just how incredibly expensive farm equipment is.
Great. Thank you. Maybe we'll open it up to questions, but as you're thinking about questions, I'll read what Kiki wrote in the chat box. It says, we'd be so hard to get a nice piece of land here, as we're basically a community on rock and clay. So we're surrounded by lots and lots of water. It's called Birch Island. So yeah, it might be a little tricky for us, but I'm sure there's farmland on other First Nations that are close by. Good irrigation though, she says.
Yeah, you can always do aquaponic style, where they grow on water. And you can also do smaller farming where you create your own soil. Composting is a huge thing. Even, I live in a community with quite a bit of, I wouldn't say quite a bit, but we have a decent amount of agricultural land. And I still have to put a lot of time into the soil. And composting is very easy, and gets you kind of where you need to go. So I suggest, starting with making your own soil. One thing I tell people is agriculture and farming is very slow progress. So start small. A season will go by so fast, like it's already November and season's over. I feel like that went by pretty quick. And you can do indoor stuff, but also look at your surround. Maybe you have agricultural land around you. Maybe you can set up a processing unit and import hemp from the farmland around you. It's getting creative and seeing what you can do.
Definitely. Thank you. So does anybody have any questions?
I do. If I'll start it off, if you don't mind.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, cool. Thanks again for the presentation. That was really interesting to hear, because like that's something I've heard a lot about, is hemp and the possibilities, and I always wondered why we're not really jumping on that a little bit more. So just leading up to that, just wondering, with presenting like this and speaking with other First Nations communities, has there been that real interest in startup in other First Nations communities where they're, hopped on board and they're starting to see what they can do with that as well? Or where are they, is it still sort of new for most places?
Yeah, it's still fairly new. There's a few First Nations that have gotten into it and set up uh, hemp operations, a lot of it revolving around the hemp seed business. The unfortunate part of the industry is that when legalization came with the CBD boom, and as you saw, all these big companies came in, bought everybody out, billion-dollar companies. Unfortunately, what they did was they bought up these old hemp companies, that some that I was working for, I had contracts to sell my seed with, and they came in, bought them out, and then shut everything down and fired everybody. And then, so a lot of farmers were left with no more industry. And now I've almost, and then these big companies, they don't care because it's all about shareholders and speculation and pricing on the market. It's actually hurt the industry quite a bit. And the smaller hemp companies that kind of kept the entire industry alive, they've been bought out and forgotten about. And so it's kind of taken two steps back, I feel, just recently. And and with COVID, there was a few nations I was working with in Alberta that we were going to do some large tracts of land, but unfortunately uh, people backed out because they were afraid of the market. They were afraid of not having enough money, which is completely fair. It was a worry at the time, so we canceled those projects this year. And then, as I mentioned earlier, the other issue is the processing equipment for the fiber and herd industries. There's a company I'm working with called Hill Agra Machinery, and they've come up with a very good one that we were gonna actually take on tour across Canada this fall and start processing in First Nations communities, because there's some hemp farmers in pretty much every province across Canada. And we wanted to do a series of going from province to province with the processing machine to start showing communities how to do it and what can be done. But everything got canceled because of COVID, unfortunately. But that's just reality. But there's definitely a lot of attention, a lot of interest. Everybody is kind of waiting to see who's going to put their money in first. Everybody's kind of scared because it's not cheap to do it properly. And then the other issue is, again, relying on these other companies to purchase your seeds or purchase your products, and they end up not coming through on a contract. And I've seen that hurt a lot of people. I've been hurt by that from what I thought was a big company, and then they come halfway through the season, they say, no, sorry, can't do it. And then their lawyers send me paperwork, and then I'm stuck with a field I don't know what to do with. So that's the issue right now. But that's where I think that an entire First Nations industry is key, where it's First Nations growing, processing, doing that secondary process where you're actually making products, and also, selling the wholesale, because that's what I would like to see.
Great, thank you. So the next question is in the chat box. The chat box says, is hemp better than chia seeds? And I did run to my kitchen and grab both hemp and chia seeds. I don't know if anyone has ever seen both of them close up, but I'll show the video and I'll let you. So here are the chia seeds. They're more like dark. Well, you can't really see. They're really tiny. They kind of look like baby sesame seeds almost. I don't know if you can see that. Yeah, there we go. So that's what the chia seeds look like. And then this is what some hemp hearts look like. So they're definitely different. And I think to answer your question, Kiki, it really depends what nutrient you're going for.
Yeah, absolutely. And different tastes as well. Hemp definitely has a hemp flavor. That's actually one of the projects we did this year. Was we were working on a new variety where the seeds taste completely different. Um, they taste they taste like fruity. It was actually, they're very good. So we've been trying to work on this seed variety to get these very fruity flavored seeds, because that's actually one of the biggest complaints I hear is the taste of hemp. It's not everybody's favorite.
So her response in the chat box is going for everything. So do you have a preference on which
Well,
one is better?
I'm gonna say hemp is better. So this.
I personally like the taste of the hemp hearts better than the chia seeds, so I would also go hemp hearts. But I could bring them into work, Kiki, and I'll let you try both. Anybody else have questions? Kiki says, I used chia seeds already for a few years now. Okay, I'll bring them both in anyway and see who wants to try what. All right, so I think that's the end of our questions, but if you have any questions, definitely message me and I can get a hold. So maybe now I can get Kelsey to help me out here. Maybe I could do it. I can do the draw for the $20 gift card. We're going to do a $20 gift card draw for the coffee shop here in town, Loco Beans. So I'll go pick those up. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 people. Now switch over to the internet. Window. Should have did this while it's okay. I'll let you see how slow my internet is. All right, I'm gonna hit shuffle. I don't know what's going on. I have to hit OK. Hit shuffle, shuffle again. One more time. All right, so here we go. Yay! All right, Kiki, you get a gift card to the coffee shop. I'll stop sharing. All right, so if there's no more questions, I'll take the opportunity to say thank you very much, or chimigwech, to Stephen, and have a good evening, everyone. Kiki says thank you very much, very informative.
Thank you for the questions, Kiki, and everybody have a great day.